Hello my friends and welcome to Philos-Bites, a series where I talk about a variety of different topics related to games that don't fit into my philosophy of games series. And this time, I want to talk about playtesting, in that you need to do it. You need to do it a lot if you want to make a game. I have a project that I've been working on that I'm not entirely ready to talk about. Don't really want to give out much of the details on it because I feel like if I talk about it too much and try to hype myself up and give myself accolades, that I'll actually reduce my productivity on working on this project. It's not a video game, but it's something related. It's a tabletop RPG. I'm making a tabletop RPG. I'm not ready to talk about it, obviously, but I can't dance around it. I'm going to make this video ruined if I dance around saying that I'm making a tabletop RPG. I'm making a tabletop RPG. And in January, I was spending a lot of time trying to set this thing up. I was spending a lot of time working on it in February as well. And I had the wonderful benefit of a community of Dungeons & Dragons players that I had built with my friend James to workshop this game that I'm making with me. And the local game store that had opened up this year also were instrumental in helping me progress in my ability to make this game. And the thing that I was hitting the biggest roadblock on was that I was able to get like the core concepts of how I want characters to move and stats and all of these other aspects of the game figured out pretty early on, just by thinking about what I wanted and putting it on paper. But for this tabletop RPG to work, I needed to have enemies. I needed to have combat. I needed to understand what the system that I had made actually was and how to build around it. And I found that because I had I had an understanding of generally what I want the system to be, but I didn't have any experience with it. And so because I didn't have any experience actually playing the game with people, I couldn't even begin to make monsters for the players to attack, for the players to defeat. And because I couldn't make enemy units, I had absolutely no concept of how the game was going to go overall as a whole. And so I realized that I was thinking backwards. I was thinking I need to make these enemy units so that people can play the game. In actuality, I needed people to play the game so that I could make enemy units, so that people could then play the game. It gave me an appreciation for understanding that playtesting a game that you are trying to make is not just a matter of seeing if the game works or not, but is probably the most integral piece for actually making the game in the first place. You won't see what the game is like until you see it being played. And that seems simple enough, but I think a lot of people think about playtesting, think about quality assurance, game testers finding bugs and all that thing as something that happens at the end of production. And even just from making a tabletop RPG, I found that it was absolutely integral for me to have people playing my RPG in front of me in order to even have an idea of how to keep making it, how to keep iterating on the ideas, how to understand difficulty, and how to set up ranges of difficulty in response to all of the abilities and stats that I was setting up for the player characters. Everything completely revolved around playtesting. So from this little bit of experience, and this is probably going to be one of the shortest Philos-Bites that there actually is, which makes sense because I planned for this to be short little snippets, not the long videos that they have often turned into. is that playtesting a game is not the last step of developing a game. It's the second step of developing a game. The first step is make anything that can be played. The second step is play test it. And the third step is continuing to develop the game. There is no degree of pride in that realization. I feel as though it is rather simple, and at this point, I can't even believe that I went into making that game thinking that I would develop an entire fully fleshed out system before even having anyone play it. But I was honestly thinking that way, and it was naive, completely naive of me to think that I was going to make a game start to finish and then have people play it and iterate, adjust, slightly change things here and there. And it's absolutely not the case. I have been struggling since the stay-at-home orders, since self-quarantine, to be able to continue progress on this project of mine, because I have no people to play it, have no people to test it out with me, because I don't have the online infrastructure that other tabletop RPGs have in order to be played online. So I feel as though I'm at a standstill with continuing the process of making these enemies and trying to flesh out a roster of challenges to be overcome by the party. And I feel as though I need this sort of base, this set of usable assets, if you will, in order to do the next step that I want to get into, which is actually creating an adventure book, a storyline, a series of challenges for players and a person running the game to actually play through. So, I don't know, I just wanted to share that, one, playtesting is important, and two, I've hit an artistic roadblock, and I don't see any way to overcome it other than playtesting. If you have a suggestion as to what could help me in this time, please leave a comment. Or if you are someone who develops games and has some ideas, you could also send me an email. You'll find that in the About tab of the SocraTetris YouTube channel's homepage. There's an About tab with a business email that you can go to. I don't think I've ever talked about the business email before, but I need some suggestions about how I can get over this hump so that I can keep working on this game that I'm making, because I'm really excited about it, and I was hoping that I could get it into a 1.0 version by December of this year, and now I feel as though I'm not going to make that deadline, and I want to make that deadline for myself. Anyways, if you have any suggestions, please tell me what they are. And that's it. Playtest your games. Do it immediately, because it's a necessary part of actually making the game in the first place. It is not about fixing your game. It is not about telling whether or not it's fun. It is a fundamental building block. It just needs to be done. Playtest your game. Do it now. Stop thinking you'll do it later. Do you have a playable version of the game? Playtest it now. Otherwise, you really aren't making more of the game that you think you're making. And that's all. Thank you so much for watching, my friends. If you liked this video, make sure you like the video so that the glorious YouTube algorithm, which is constantly playtesting all of our videos on this platform, will share it with other people who might be interested. Also, hit the subscription bell so that you don't miss any other videos that come out on my channel if you'd like to stay up to date with progress on this tabletop RPG, which I may or may not talk about in the future. And as always, stay true. And here's a breath of fresh air.